Hey Chris, what's up? Welcome to the Legal Marketing Made Easy podcast, and I want to thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to talk some business,
All
talk some
right,
shop.
great. Well, let's start with why don't you tell us, before we get going into too much of the details, tell us a little bit about your practice right now and what you're doing. What's going on?
Okay, so I'm in Seattle. I have a co-partner, co-owner of the firm, and we do criminal defense, DUIs, traffic tickets, personal injury. And we have an associate attorney, a paralegal slash admin person, and that's kind of it. That's where I'm at now. I don't know if you want to know backstory or whatever else you want to know.
Well,
Um,
we're certainly going to get into that. So I guess that's a
okay.
good follow-up question then. Why don't you lead my listeners through your story from kind of law school to successful solo? How you got to where you are today?
Okay. Got out of so went to law school at the University of Kansas. Big Jayhawk fan. Went and worked for a small firm for about a year and a half. Went and worked for another small firm after that. And it was probably at about that time when I went to work for that second firm that I really started to think about opening my own firm and what that meant, and really kind of planning internally, how that would work. I started reading a lot of blogs. I didn't start reading a lot of blogs. I started reading the blogs that I could find, and I started thinking about what it would really take to kind of go out on my own and do my own thing. And it was at that time too that I started. So when I started thinking about starting a firm, I looked around and there weren't a lot of resources, and I thought it would be fun for other people and also fun for myself to kind of document my experience from beginning to forever. So I actually started a blog at that time. It was called Starting a Law Firm. It was just on a Blogger blog. It was very basic, and started documenting my journey at that point. Left that firm, went and worked for the Kansas Department of Transportation for about a year and a half. Then my wife got a job in Seattle working at the University of Washington, and part of her job search uh, included a deal for me that wherever we moved, because we were going to have to move for her job, I would get to start a firm. So the whole idea was wherever we went, no
You're
matter where it
saying
was.
deal with your wife. That was the deal you
Right,
had with
right,
your
right.
wife. Yeah.
Right. So I said, look, we can take this. We go wherever you want. I don't care where we go because I was born and raised in Kansas, so I didn't really have a lot of connections to any other cities. I said, I don't care where we go, but I get to open my firm. And basically, from that, and that was about in June of 2008, is kind of when that really started happening, and that's when I started um, building my firm. So I didn't open the doors until June of 2009, but it was at that time that I started really blogging. I started doing a lot of stuff to kind of lay the foundation from a marketing and business perspective for my firm, so that when I opened it, I wasn't just starting at zero.
So did you have to take another bar exam?
I did. I've taken the Kansas bar exam, I've taken Missouri, and I've taken Washington.
Oh wow,
So took three. Yeah,
you beat
it's not
me.
fun.
I've only got two.
Yeah.
Um, so then you moved to Washington, and then so you kind of already had the groundwork laid out, and then you just kind of started from there. You'd already
Yeah, I
passed the
did.
bar exam.
So I moved to Washington in November 2008. I took the bar exam in February 2009, got my results, and then I opened in June 2009.
Okay.
But during that whole time, I was still blogging. You know what I mean? Because, for example, let's say someone's watching this and they're in law school, right? Just because you don't have your law license yet doesn't mean you can't talk about the law, right?
Yep.
Because you're not giving anyone legal advice anyway. Now, if someone happens to read your blog post and call you, you probably want to send them somewhere else. But there's nothing that prevents you from talking about the kind of practice area that you want to go into and the issues that are there. And you can even talk about the qualities that people might want to look for in a lawyer in that space. As long as don't hold yourself out as a lawyer, you're fine. And that's basically what I did. So I went through it. I just thought about all the frequently asked questions that people would ask, all the things that I needed to learn about Washington DUI law, for example, in particular, and then I would write about them as blog posts. And so I just over time just started building that up.
Okay. Great. So let's kind of take a step back and So when did you realize that you wanted to start a law practice? Was it, I mean, was this when you were in law school? Was it before law school? Was it after you worked at a firm for a while? When did you finally realize that that's what you wanted to do?
I'd say it was probably when I started working at the first firm. I worked for a very small firm in a very small town, and I received, it was set up probably the way that a lot of small law offices are set up, particularly when it comes to kind of criminal defense, personal injury type of practices where, you get a relatively small kind of salary, and then you get a percentage of the money that you bring in from cases. So from the very first start, I had to think about marketing myself and getting clients and things like that. But I really kind of felt like I was held back by some of the policies and some of the ways that the firm that I was working for wanted to kind of do things and run their business. So, it was at that point pretty much that I started thinking, you know what, I could do this better on my own. Like I have ideas, things that I would want to do to make this whole, not just make more money, but make the client experience better, all of those things. So the seed, I think, was really planted at that time. And I just kind of needed the right opportunity to kind of make the jump. And for me, moving to a new city was the perfect opportunity because, legal jobs are hard to find anyway. So I just figured
that time.
Right. Yeah. 2008. So I just figured, what the hell, I'll just go start my own thing and I'll just make my own journey, do my own thing.
Well,
Yeah.
it's funny you say that, and I'm going to kind of skip over a couple of my other questions here, but a lot of people do that or think they want to do that, and they end up falling flat on their face. If what do you think sets you apart that made you a little bit different? You have been successful. You've been doing it now for 4 years, right? And almost 4 years, and you've been doing very well for yourself.
Yeah, I think, I guess, looking back, well, one of the things I think that helped me be successful was an understanding that there's a lot of work that you're going to have to do, and then to actually just go do the work. Don't talk about the work, but actually go and do it. And that's from you could be the best lawyer in the world, right? But if you don't have anybody calling you, you're not going to be able to make any money, right? So you have to put in some work from a marketing perspective. And for a lot of people that do it, they think that means, oh, let's go to a bar meeting, and we'll all talk about how bad business is and how much we're struggling. But for me, that meant locking myself in my office for half a day and writing 4 blog posts. It meant not going to the bar association meetings, but trying to think about where are people that would actually need my services, or who would be potential good referral partners, and then going out and trying to create relationships with those people. So I just think, and here's the other thing too, the other thing too is that I stuck with it. A lot of people go for a month or 2 months or, maybe even 6 months, and then they quit. And it's kind of like at that 6-month mark is really kind of when you're going to get over the hump. I feel like a lot of times. So you got to just have, what do they say? Something like plan to work and work to plan or something, right? So you have to just you have to lay out what you want to do and where you want to go, and then every day you need to do something so you just keep moving forward towards that goal. And I think a lot of people don't do that.
I agree with that. I think another thing that young attorneys do, you talk about that 6-month mark. I think what a lot of attorneys do, especially young ones that maybe have just left a firm or got laid off or couldn't find a job, is they start their own firm, but at the same time they've got their eyes they're looking around for a job. So they're not 100% invested in starting their firm. They're thinking, okay, at some point I'm going to get a job, and this is not going to be what I'm doing anymore.
Right, I agree with you 100%. And when I first moved out here, I was offered a job almost immediately. It was from someone that I was looking for office space from. And I actually ended up renting office space from the guy, and I told him I didn't want the job. And then when my lease was up the next year, he told me I couldn't work there anymore because I couldn't get space from him anymore because he was doing criminal defense work and stuff too. And he's a competitive kind of a guy, and I don't think he really wanted me around anymore because and this is the other thing too that I really did is, two big things, I guess, that I want to talk about that you kind of brought up. The first is when I first started, I didn't, and I think people fall into this trap. Let's say I got some case or something. I didn't spend my whole day working on that one case. I did the work that needed to be done on the case, and then I spent all of my other time marketing. So if I had a DUI case, I may spend an hour a day on the case, a real hour just working on it and doing what I needed to do. And then I would just be done with that and I would go back to marketing the business. I wouldn't spend 7 hours reading cases and looking into the smallest issues that were not going to be relevant. I would just stop and I would go do the marketing. And for a lot of people that makes them feel like they're not being a lawyer, like they're not doing what they need to do. And that's a huge problem. And then I lost my train of thought. What was this? What was the question that you actually asked about? Shoot.
Oh, geez. I don't know. We kind of got off on a tangent. I'm not really
We
following my
did.
questions anymore.
That's okay. Dang it. Because it was something that.
What other lawyers do? They're looking for other jobs while they're working, things like that.
Yeah. It'll come back. I can't remember. I can't remember what. Yeah, dang it, because it was good. It was good, but I think that one's super important too. Make sure that you're spending time on the job.
We're doing marketing as opposed to wasting
Right.
too much time.
Right. You got to think of yourself. You got to think of yourself as a business owner. Oh, that's what I was going to say too, because it went back to this guy offering me the job. I got kind of lucky in that the person I rented office space from, this guy was a good attorney, but he was a great businessman. And so I took that opportunity to really watch how their firm operates, watch what they do from a business and marketing perspective, and then I didn't steal it, right? But I brought in as much of that information into my practice as I could. Working that from a personnel standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, anything I could learn, I did. I read tons of business books. I really just became interested in the business side of the law practice too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, I'm glad you came back to that tangent. That was helpful. So let's go back to when you did start your practice and when you made this deal with your wife that you wherever you moved, that was fine as long as you were able to start your own law practice. How did your family, I guess your wife or extended family or whoever, how did they react when you told them that this is what you were going to be doing or what you wanted to do?
Right. My wife was excited because I don't know, she knows how I go after things, so she was excited. She was kind of nervous too, obviously, because there's the opportunity to fail. There's also the opportunity or the likelihood that you're not going to make a lot of money right out of the gates. I think my other family members, they were supportive, but probably skeptical. No one ever actually just outright said like, "What are you doing? You're an idiot. Go get a job." But I'm sure that there were people that had those thoughts because that's kind of what you would expect. If you haven't gone out and started your own thing, it's an extremely scary idea for a lot of people. And the funny thing is about that is it's not only scary because of the opportunity for failure, but it's scary for people to think about what that kind of success can mean for people too. The freedom to be able to do whatever you want, the freedom not to have a boss that tells you what to do every moment of the day. The freedom to go take a vacation wherever you want, whenever you want. Obviously those kind of things come after a lot of hard work usually, but that's one of the things I really like about owning a law firm is that the potential rewards are very, very great. They're lifetime kind of rewards.
Sure.
So that's what makes it easier to put all that work in too, because at the end of the day, you're going to be able to extract every single ounce of work that you put in. You're going to be able to take it out for yourself. It's not like you're going and working for somebody that's going to give you 10% of what you bring in and put the other 50% in his pocket after he pays expenses and stuff. So yeah, I didn't hear a lot of backlash. I didn't hear a lot of skepticism, but people, who knows what they were thinking in their mind. I'm sure they were skeptics.
And you said now your wife was moved. Now remind me again, what does your wife do?
She was in college athletic administration until about probably 4 months ago. So she was in fund development. She was in fundraising. She worked
She's
at
not a lawyer though.
no. She's not a lawyer.
Okay.
So she worked at KU in college athletics. There's only a limited amount of spots for jobs. So if you want to move up, if you want to get promoted, a lot of times you got to go to a different school.
Okay.
You see it all the time with coaches, right? For
Sure.
example, the assistant coach wants to go be a head coach somewhere. He's either going to have to wait for the guy in front of him to retire, or he's going to have to go to some other school. And she was kind of in a similar situation.
Absolutely. And so is she working now?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
She works now.
Because I know you've got one small child and another one on the way, right?
Yep. Yep. We have a 15-month-old, and we have another baby due in May.
Yep.
So it's about to get intense life.
Well, as someone who has 2 kids already, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and my wife is pregnant with a little boy that's going to be born in May, I can tell you that going from 1 to 2 is like going from 1 to 10. So yeah, it's going to get intense quick. But back to law firm marketing. So can you think back to maybe a failure you've had, something that didn't go quite your way, something that a setback that you had as you were starting to build your practice, or maybe while you've had your practice, and what you learned from it, and what you did about it?
Sure. I had a huge setback about a year and a half ago, probably. So a lot of my initial marketing was internet based, right? I kind of am a search engine geek a little bit. I was interested in it before I started my firm. I was doing some kind of online marketing kind of stuff, and so I used that knowledge to really kind of promote my law firm on the internet, and I was getting great results. So I was number one, and that's one of the. So to back up a little bit, I really kind of got my first clients and things like that from the internet. It started with traffic tickets because traffic tickets were a much less competitive keyword than like DUI or something.
Yep.
And when I say competitive, for those people out there that don't know what I'm talking about, it's just you got to think about the number of people that want to rank number one for like DUI attorney is much higher than the number of people that want to rank in the search engines for traffic attorney.
Sure.
So I was working on both at the same time, but eventually, probably about a year into opening my firm, I was ranking number one for all the DUI attorney keywords everywhere. So like I went to Cabo on a vacation, I Googled DUI attorney, I showed up number one there. I went to Boston for a conference, I Googled DUI attorney, I showed up there. So and the way I was doing that was it was really all on the up and up. I wasn't doing anything sneaky or shady, but
stuff.
Right. I wasn't doing anything that was against Google's terms or anything like that. But then they updated their search algorithm about a year. I think it was March 2012 is when that happened. And I just fell off the search engines for about 3 months. And that hurt big time because I got a lot less calls, got a lot less clients, and it was really pretty scary. I never got anywhere close to like shutting the firm down or losing the business or anything like that, but it was a really great learning experience, and it really taught me the importance of having multiple marketing channels, right? If you just rely on one thing, there's the opportunity to get burned if that's taken away.
Yep.
And when it comes to search engine stuff, when it comes to Facebook marketing, when it comes to any of that kind of stuff, you're kind of at their mercy because they could just change their rules and then you're done. You're stuck. I mean, think about Facebook right now, they keep lowering the number of people that actually see your stuff. So if you have a million followers or a million likes on your Facebook page, they're only getting to like 12% of those people.
Yep.
So at a million, it's 120,000. But if you have 1,000, it's only 120 of your people that are actually seeing what you're offering or what you're promoting. So, that's one of the big lessons that I learned from that. And that's when I really started branching out, doing other things. Yep. In addition to keep doing the search engine stuff, because it's really can be effective.
Yep. And I think I was looking on the forum yesterday, and I saw that maybe Google just came out with another update just this past week maybe. So that's always constantly happening, and I've certainly been affected by that as well. Let's see. So where your firm is right now, you just partnered with somebody else. So you're not technically a solo anymore. You started a new law firm as of the first of the year, right?
That's right. Yep. I just partnered up with somebody. It was kind of a crazy situation. He was somebody that I'd known for a while. The owner, he was an associate at a firm, and the owner of that firm was running for a judge. So he thought he was going to, well, if he would have won the election, he would have to get rid of his firm. So he was going to sell it to somebody. Strider asked me if I was interested in buying that book of business from him, and to do that, we were going to partner up. That whole thing kind of fell through in a really weird way, and that's another completely different story. But then we decided to partner up anyway. He's got a lot of personal injury experience. He also handles a lot more serious crimes than we really did. Erica, my associate, has a lot of personal injury experience. I have a little personal injury experience, so we thought it was a great opportunity to bring him in, bring in his expertise, bring in his network and his connections, and then we added in a personal injury practice to the firm, kind of. And instead of just him coming into mine, we just decided it was a great opportunity to kind of just rebrand, start fresh, and kick the whole thing off. So that's what we did.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
at some point we probably should talk again in 3 months or 6 months and find out how that's going, because that's something I've thought about doing, and I know a lot of people that are interested in partnering. There's a lot of pitfalls that come with that, but there's also can be a lot of benefits too. So, I mean, is it too soon to talk about that, or do you know it? I mean, is there anything
No,
you
we
can
can
talk
talk
about
about it a little bit. We can talk about it because even though we've only been open for, less than a month, technically, we've been kind of working as partners and talking about business as partners for 8 or 9 months or so. I think I can tell you, I think one of the things that I like in Strider, who's my partner's name, and that I would encourage everyone to really make sure of, is that the person that you're going to partner up with brings some skills to the table that are not your strengths, because for example, the way that we see our business relationship over time is him acting and working as kind of a managing partner, and me working and acting kind of as a CEO, taking care, because I'm super, super into the business side of things. He loves the lawyer side of things. He loves, that whole side of it. So it's really it's a good partnership from that perspective. The other thing is too, his strength is networking from like a person-to-person standpoint. He is really a connector.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for me, my strength is more traditional business methods. Whether it's search engine or internet, whether it's offline with newsletters and marketing, promotions, and things like that. So that's another kind of yin and yang that brings us together.
Sure.
So if you're thinking about partnering up with somebody, I think that's important. It's also important to really, I think at the beginning, talk about what your ultimate goals are. What do you want out of life? What do you want out of your firm? To make sure that even if you don't agree with the kind of the path that your partner wants to take, at least you guys know where you're at, and they can, you can do what you want, so you're not blindsided if somebody decides to do something different, or 10 years later they want to get out and they want to go do something else. That's important to talk about up front too.
Yep. Well, I think a lot of people have said it's kind of like a marriage without the sex. You just you're kind of together on everything, and you need to be really sure that's a good relationship and a good fit. And I think the things you said there are spot on. So what is it? And I don't know if you can say, do you still have your own practice, or what is it you like the most about having your own law practice or being the owner of your own law practice? What is it that's most important about that to you? Maybe we've already talked a little bit about this, but
So My other firm is really technically going to be kind of winding down over the course of this year, and we'll just be doing um, Emerald City Law Group, which is the name of my new firm. But I still feel the same about it. I mean, I just have someone that I collaborate with
Yep.
that you know we split the risk and we split the reward. That's really what it boils down to with the partnership. But it does kind of go into what I already talked about. What I love about owning a firm is that you get out everything that you put in. You know, um, the all the work and all the time that you put in, you get that comes back to you. You know, in a bunch of different ways. The other thing I really like about it is that, you know, I have tons of new ideas for marketing the firm. I have tons of ideas about the way that a firm should be run and the way that people should act and the kind of customer service that we should give. And uh, as the owner, I get the opportunity to implement all of those things that I want to do. I get to really create and shape the way that our firm looks. You know, because the one thing I don't want people to have is a typical law firm experience. You know, I want people that hire us to have a great experience.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. I think that's all the reasons that I have a law firm too. You know, it's just wonderful to be able to, you know, like I switched case management programs towards the end of last year, and having my own practice, I could do that because I thought there would be a better user experience for the client and a better experience for my employees, and it turns out it has been. And you know, if you work at a firm and you don't like what they're doing with their case management, or maybe they don't even have case management, you know, you're at their whim, and you have to do what they want to do. So. Well, as we start to wind it down here, why don't
Right. Exactly. Well, just think about it like this. This is one real quick. This is one big
yep,
thing. Think about, you know, if you are a morning person or if you are a night person, you know,
great point.
you have the opportunity. You can come in at. You have kids, right? How great is that? If you want to be the one that wakes up with your kids and goes and drops them off to school, and you start working around 10, and you come home at, you know, 5, and then you work from 8 to 10 or something. That you can do that. You know, you don't have anybody asking you how come you're not in the office or, you know, whatever. I mean, that's one of the great things about it too is you can control your own schedule and you know you're going to get out what you put in. So the more work you put in, typically the better. But you can work when you want.
Yep.
You know, that's
Yep.
another great thing.
And I don't know about you, but we've kind of formulated our practice to where we have a paperless office. So if I need to work from home, or I'm taking vacation next month, and if I want to do some work while I'm on vacation, which I probably will because I enjoy it, I can do that while I'm there. So I've kind of constructed this practice that allows us to do it that way. So.
Yeah, definitely. We have two. Yeah, you can pretty much access anything from anywhere. Um, you know, so it's great.
Yep. So, if you have a couple resources or tools or things that you might be able to recommend to the listeners, what are some things that you use on a daily basis, or that you just think are really helpful and useful to you?
Oh, from a practical standpoint,
Whether it's
I
software or whatever.
we use Dropbox um, exclusively for all of our file storage and management and stuff like that, which is I think something that everyone should do. It's helpful because you can access it anywhere, but it's also helpful because you don't have to worry about losing everything if your computer's stolen or if there's a fire or I don't know, whatever your computer breaks. You know, it's always there. Um, there's also, what else do I use? We use Google Apps for all of our stuff. So we use Google Apps with the email, calendar, everything. I like that because I have an affinity for Google products, I guess, in general, over like Microsoft Outlook. I just think that's kind of just a personal preference. Let me look and see what else we use.
Do you use Google Docs?
Yeah,
Do you use Google
I
Docs?
don't. No, we work in Word only
Okay.
because of the formatting and things that you need, you know, for core documents. It's just easier that way, and then we put everything in. Then we work through Dropbox
Okay.
as far as that goes. So we do, yeah, we use Microsoft Office for work. I do spreadsheets and stuff like that I want to share with everyone in Google Drive, Google Docs, but that's about it.
Okay.
because everybody knows Office. You know, I don't. The formatting is too hard for me. I didn't want to learn a new formatting system. What else? What else do I do? I'm looking around in my office to see what we use. We use Basecamp as a case management system. It's not geared for lawyers, but you know, we don't, because of what I do and the way that I've set my firm up. We don't bill by the hour.
Hmm.
You know, we have flat fees or percentage fees for everything, which really means our case management really boils down to just what needs to be done and when does it need to be done. So we use Basecamp for that. We have project templates that we use. So when somebody hires us for a DUI, we already have all of the steps laid out from A to Z, everything that needs to be done. We just create a new project with that template, and it's all there. So that I love Basecamp. I think that's probably it. You know, we're pretty streamlined. You know,
So that's like
it doesn't have to be overly complex. You know.
so it sounds like Basecamp's more of a task-based type of case management or project management system, which seems like
Well,
it
you
would work
can
well
do
for you.
yes. Well, with Basecamp, you can share documents. You can have discussions on there. You can we log all of our phone calls. We log all of our court appearances and what happens. You can assign tasks. You can check up on tasks. You can import documents there. So if you really wanted to, you could just work out of Basecamp. You wouldn't even necessarily need Dropbox, but we kind of use both, right, as a backup.
Yep.
So we use it. You could the whole point of Basecamp. The whole Let me put it this way: we use Basecamp. So let's say like I died or something, or I was laid up in the hospital. Strider or Erica could come into the office, get on Basecamp, and they could become up to speed on exactly what's going on with any case that's in our office
Yep.
in 30 minutes by looking at that project on Basecamp. So all the documents are in there, all the correspondence is in there. Um, that's why I like it, and that's what we use it for too.
Yeah, it was actually one of the programs I looked at the end of last year when I thought about switching. I did not end up using it, but that's because a lot of my work is hourly, so it did not have a
Right.
good timer in there for that. But
Yep.
uh, so let's see. So let me ask you this question, and I've listened to your podcast as well. I know you've answered this question on your podcast previously, but if you had to start over from scratch with your law firm, and you and you know, you didn't have Strider, you didn't have any of the systems, you didn't have your Basecamp, you didn't have any clients, you didn't have a paralegal, and all you had was, you know, when you moved to Seattle and nothing else and knew nobody, what would you do if you had to start over from scratch again?
How much money do I have to work with?
Not very much.
Do I have anything? Okay, all right. So, I mean, I would probably start in a lot of the same ways that I did. You know, the important thing is one thing I would do is I would pick a practice area and I would stick with it. You know, if I was just starting over, I mean, from a business standpoint, I may pick a different practice area to go into because I think there are other ones that are um, easier to break into from a marketing standpoint in particular because you know the thing about what I do is you have to wait for something to happen to someone
Mhm.
before they're even a potential client for you versus like I'm thinking of like estate planning, for example, right? There are a lot of people that um, need estate planning services, and there are a lot of people that can refer people that need estate planning services to you.
Yep.
But I would immediately start a blog. That's the first thing I would do, and I would just write down. I would write down every single question I could think of that people would want to ask me, and then I would create a blog post for each one of those. Then I would go to every other estate planning lawyer's website that I could find, and I would look through and I would see what questions they're answering, and I would take those questions and I would answer them on my own. And I would do this, and the thing is, I would do this about 75% of my time would be devoted to marketing, and about 25% of my time would probably be devoted towards actually practicing law at the beginning in particular. Sometimes it would be even more because that goes back to, like I said, you just because you have a client that you're spending all of your time on, that doesn't mean that you're successful. Um, you want to have happy clients. That's a way to measure success. You also need to look at your bank balance at the end of the day, um, to make sure that you're taking care of your family and yourself.
Yep.
So that's what I would do. I mean, I would go out there and I would just start pounding the flesh, and I would start meeting people. I would start going to meet. And the thing is, I would probably stay away. Depends on what your practice area is, but I would probably stay away from those bar association groups. I would go out and I would just try to. I would just think about what was I interested in. I'd get really active in those things. I would go to meetups where there were anybody that would kind of be a potential referral source. So in the estate planning realm, it would be accountants, financial planners, anyone like that. You could go to family law attorneys as well. Would be a good place to go. But that's what I would do. I would just get to work,
So
stop thinking about it, and start doing.
taking action. So
That's right.
so blog, answer questions, and meet other people that are doing what you want to do, or people that could refer clients that in what you want to do. That's kind of what you would do. If those are the
Yep,
three things.
exactly. I mean, definitely. I would build a website around the blog too. That's one of the. I mean, I would do those kind of in tandem,
Okay. Well, I think
because you want to. You go out there. Oh,
no, go ahead.
I just was going to say, one of the things that you need to make sure that you're doing from the very beginning is kind of promoting an air of legitimacy about yourself. So you don't want to give someone a business card or tell them that you're owner of a law firm, and then they go look at your website and it doesn't work, or it looks terrible, or it's all about business law when you tell people that you're doing personal injury or something like that. So yeah, I would do all that stuff all at once. I would be working on that nonstop.
Just out of curiosity, do you use Google AdWords?
I do. I do a little bit. I use it for traffic tickets. I don't. I kind of will go off and on from a DUI standpoint. We haven't used it at all for personal injury yet. I actually just had a conversation with Strider about that yesterday, about maybe experimenting a little bit with that. But if you're going to do AdWords, there's a book that you have to read, and this is, when it comes to that kind of stuff, when it comes to AdWords, you can really do two things. You can try to figure it out yourself, or you can hire someone to do it for you. The problem if you hire someone to do it for you is you got to put a lot of trust in them that they're going to do what needs to be done for your business, that they're not just going to do what they do for 100 other businesses and take your money, and tell you that, oh, you got to keep waiting. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. The book that I'm talking about is by Perry Marshall, and I'm going to look up real quick what the name of the book is. I have it on my phone here. It's called The Ultimate Guide to Google AdWords. It's like it's a little. He may have a new edition out, but I would read that thing from start to finish. It tells you how to set up an account. It talks about split testing from the very beginning. It talks about copy. It talks about maximizing the money that you pay, and about quality score and how that can affect what you pay. It talks about a whole bunch of cool stuff that you can use. So for me, for example, with the DUI stuff, I will make my ads extremely specific, and I will keep my bid cost low, so that for someone to find me, they probably have to scroll down about halfway down the first page. But that saves you a lot of money. It saves you a lot of random clicks from people that are just like tire kickers or other attorneys that want to see what your ads look like.
Yep.
And when you're paying for DUI stuff in Seattle, you're paying like $40-50 a click.
Oh, wow.
So that can become real money real fast. So you want to be careful about what you're doing when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I do use it a little bit. Yep. I use it for traffic tickets for sure. Very effective for traffic tickets.
All right. Well, great. Well, thanks. Well, Chris, that's kind of all I had for today. If my listeners were looking to find you, where can they find you?
They can, when it comes to this stuff in particular, I would say you could go to lawfirmmarketingmastery.com. That's my website. That's my website that's kind of devoted to the whole business of law, things like that. There's a lot of great information on there. You can just Google me if you want to see everything else. Emerald State Law Group is my site. CMS Law Firm is my other site. Um, Feel free to go look around. And that's what I did too. A lot of the time when I is, if I found something that I liked, I would go check it all out. Go put your information into my contact form and see what pops up. And those are the kind of things that you want to recreate. You want to take what you like, dismiss what you don't, and make it better. I'd love for you to make my stuff better.
You got a dog in the office, I'm guessing.
I do, yeah. He's right here. I'm gonna let him out in a second.
Um,
Yeah, that's another great thing about owning your law firm, right? Your pets. That's one of the things we look for with this new. It was a no go if they didn't let my dog in with us. So he's been with me from the start.
that's awesome. If I think that the other attorney I share space with would freak out if I brought my dog in, but anyway. All right. Well, Chris, anything else you want to add, or are you good?
I think that's it, man. I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the interview today, and we'll talk again soon.
Okay, great. Thanks.